I mean, I always say this, I'm the result of colonization, you know.
Fair enough. Hey, Durga.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being here. I read that you described yourself as a trans body with a womb, but that's probably not a great introduction. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words?
So, well, because we have to use words, the words that I choose to use are trans, non-binary, and gender fluid. That is to describe my gender and my identity and the way that I exist in myself, in my body. And a trans body with a womb, like, you know, as a trans person, since I was young, like, there wasn't much information about it, and the kind of information that was there was a lot to do with trans women. And a lot of the information I saw about trans people, like, the narratives were sort of around, like, this medical transition journey, you know, and any kind of transition is difficult, but, like, medically transitioning is, like, really intense. And when I identified myself as first I identified myself as a gender fluid person, and then eventually I felt comfortable with the words non-binary and trans as well, because they kind of, at this particular point in my life, they describe how I exist in this world, in this body. That is the narrative that, like, I have been talking about for a while now, because I went through a whole journey where I wanted to actually go through surgeries and, like, lots of different stuff. But that's why I describe myself as a trans body with a womb.
Okay. It's a very colorful description. I think it's one that evokes a lot of images. The reason we have you here, you went to one of the finest design schools in the world, the Rhode Island School of Design in the United States. And I want to talk a little bit about your journey both there, getting there, and then sort of afterwards and where that led you. But I don't think we can tell that story without mixing in your own personal story a little bit, right? So talk to me a little bit about growing up and discovering yourself and sort of this path that led you to going to school in the United States.
So growing up, I never imagined that I would study in America. Actually, like, the first person in my family to, like, go to college abroad. I'm actually, like, in my dad's side of the family, I'm the first person to even go to an English medium school. So I'm, like, the first person to think in English.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I always say this, I'm the result of colonization, you know.
Fair enough.
When my family is, like, extended family is just like, you're too like Americanish, you know, you're not. Sometimes they feel like I'm not Indian enough, but then I'm just like, actually, I'm very, very Indian. But so I grew up in Bombay, and I think around, like, the age of 15, we moved from the outskirts of Bombay into Parel, into the city. Then I went to St. Xavier's College for a bit, and then I was at Srishti in Bangalore for a bit. And I transferred my credits from Srishti, which is also an art and design school, to Rhode Island School of Design, which was my dream school. And
well, why was it your dream school? I mean, you could have, if you're going to study abroad, you could have gone anywhere, right? So what was it about Rhode Island School of Design? Yeah.
So when I was about 8 or 9 years old, one of my dad's friends, who's a very famous architect, his son got into RISD. And it was such a big deal. Like, everyone was like, oh my God, this fellow is a genius. He's like, you know, they just, like, put him on this pedestal. And I was like, I want that.
Yeah.
Like, I want to feel like that. I want to feel like how he's feeling right now. Like, why are people treating him like this or looking at him like this? Like, what about this? So that was the first thing I noticed.
Okay.
You know, like, the reaction. And I wanted that for myself as a very young child.
Boy, that's a very honest reflection.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, like, I mean, okay, right on.
It was not just about, like, going to a good school. Like, for me, I also wanted that sense of, when people look at me, they're like, and when they know, like, what I've done or what I've achieved, they have the sense of respect, you know. Like, I've wanted that sense of respect for myself and the world.
So you chose RISD. Is that what the cool kids call it? I don't know what.
Yeah. RISD is
Okay.
yeah. It's pronounced as RISD.
Okay. So RISD. So how do you go about applying to RISD? Because I don't imagine it's you take the SAT and submit your exam scores. Like, is it a whole process?
So that was really funny. So I don't test very well. At least when I was younger, I didn't because I had lots of performance anxiety. Now I perform on stage, so.
I was gonna say you're a performance artist. So.
Yeah, and I teach and stuff also. So like now it's fine. But back in the day, when I had to sit down for an exam, I would mess it up. So I gave the SATs 3 times.
Oh.
And I got the same exact score, which was a terrible score. I got a 13.
You're consistent.
Yeah, I was very consistent. I got a 1320 or 2400, which is terrible. Like, it's so bad. And my parents, like my education counselor, they were all just like, I know you want to go to RISD, but just like, don't have your hopes up. Your SATs are really bad. But I had a really good portfolio. So I like put together a portfolio and everything. And then I sent in my application. And going to RISD meant a lot to me. Like it meant the world. It meant like leaving everything that I'd ever known here and going to a place that would help me see myself with a completely new slate.
Now this was like what, 2012, something like that?
Right.
How do they inform you that you got in? Is it like a physical letter or email?
Oh man, I didn't even have the pleasure to get that. Like it was okay. So like I was studying in Bangalore. And the packet came home to my family, like to my parents.
And they opened it before you?
They didn't just open it, they opened it and they called everyone and told everyone before they told me. And then when I started calling people to tell them, I'd call people and they'd be like, congrats! And I'm like,
how do you know? Yes.
So yeah, that was funny. It comes in a like a big packet. And so usually like, the US colleges, whether you've gotten in or no if the packet is big or small. If it's a small packet, then you mostly haven't gotten in. But if it's a big packet.
With lots of information in it, then you're in. Okay.
Like, and it's heavy, you go.
I don't want to spend a lot of time on the visa process, but it's something that people always ask about. Was that difficult or worrisome getting your student visa?
So, it is difficult for Indians to get visas to go to the US. Like, it's just a fact, And as a student, like, for me, I think it wasn't so difficult because I had my credits in place and I had, like, I have family here. Like, I think that they were just like, okay, this person's going to study and come back. Which
is ultimately the...
Yeah.
That's the criteria, right?
Yeah. And I didn't know where I was going to live or what I was going to do or anything. I just knew that I wanted to go to RISD. It was my purpose. Like I had to go to that.
Yeah, there was no ruse. You want to go to this school, and you've got this sort of future planned out for yourself. So you're on the plane. You land. I don't know where did you fly into? New York or something? Or,
Boston.
Okay, you fly into Boston, and you make your way down to Rhode Island, which is in the northeast part of the United States. So talk about your first couple of days on campus. What was that like?
God, so when I first got there, I had like really long hair. I was like very like visibly like I was quite much more tame, in my appearance or the way I presented myself. I wasn't tame, but like in my appearance, I seemed more tame.
Okay.
And so I went there, and I remember feeling the sense of like, wow, I made it. Because I'd visited the school a year ago. So I was actually part of a competition. It was a world championship at MIT for a very different, it was a synthetic biology competition.
It was a science thing at MIT?
Yeah.
You must be the only person at RISD with a science background. No, really? So this is important, I think, right? Because when I think of a school like that, my automatically I jump to, okay, it's a bunch of like people who grew up, making clothes or like doing fashion and art and like zero interest in science, the artsy people. My wife is an artsy person, but that's not the case.
No, actually what RISD does, it helps you, the best way to put it is like, it helps you understand what you pay attention to and then harness that.
Okay.
And like, so it like helps you figure out what you're naturally doing and then like kind of like supports you to kind of go for that. So the kind of students that come out of RISD, we are like a whole spectrum. You know, some people we work in all different industries. Like Airbnb, like those guys went to RISD and they started a tech company. Like,
interesting.
You know, then.
And I bring this up because I don't think people always consider a design school or something that's not, you know, Harvard or MIT or, you know, University of Chicago, one of these types of places, because, you know, like it or not, there are certain stereotypes and people have preconceived notions. So, I mean, that's a good point to make, that these schools are for everybody.
Yeah.
So, okay, you get to Rhode Island, first couple of days on campus, you're in the dorms, you have a roommate. Like, is that weird?
No, it was fine. Like, I'd had roommates before.
Okay.
But I hadn't lived in a co-ed dorm before.
Oh, it was a co-ed dorm. Okay.
Yeah, so it was a co-ed dorm. And for me, what was kind of a culture shock was like, sometimes, like, if there are two friends who decide that they want to live together, they can request the housing guys and they can get a place together on campus. And their genders didn't matter.
Interesting.
So in the same room also.
Right.
So I was just like, what? How is this happening? Like, you know, 1 month ago I had a curfew of 9:30 in my, you know, PG, like, in my hostel. And I think it's not about like having freedom. It's about the fact that like you aren't treated like a child there. In India, even if you're in college, even if you're above 18, you know, like you're still, it's got a very school-like mentality. Like they will, if you mess up, they will like call your parents. They won't talk to you about what you did or like why you did what you did and how you can improve. And like they won't really, so it's very like, oh, we're gonna, I mean, that was at least my experience in college. And I think it's a lot of people's experience in India is like, it's still got a very school thing. But in the US, it was amazing in that sense that, you know, there was this sense of respect that all your teachers had towards you as well. Which was like this just basic, like we're all adults here. We're all here because we want to learn and we're all here because we value each other's time. So let's just, you know, be here.
Well, that leads into the classroom setting too, right? I mean, that's different than it would be for a typical Indian classroom, right? I mean, was that sort of surprising to you, like in a good way or bad way? Was it hard to adjust to?
No, I was in a design school. So, like, I wasn't in a typical Indian college.
Right on.
You know, and before that, I was in St. Xavier's College, which was again like a very progressive place for here. And some amazing people have come out of St. Xavier's. So, I've been very lucky, like, in terms of like the education I have received. So I don't come from any other privileges really except for the privilege of education, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, like we don't come from money, you don't come from anything. Like it's my parents who worked really hard and put everything into my education. Literally, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about gender identity on campus, right? And where you were sort of in your journey. When you applied to RISD and when you got accepted, how did you self-identify at the time, and did that shift after you got there?
So if we talk about self-identification,
and I just want to stop you for a second. If I screw anything up as far as nomenclature or my intention is good, I'm trying to understand. So correct me at any time or whatever you got to do. So is self-identify not the right?
No. So self-identify. There's a whole that word is got a lot of different connotations.
Okay.
But basically, like, you know, the way you've always known what is innate to you. I've always known what's innate to me. You had the words to describe it much younger than I did. That's the only difference. Like,
okay.
You had the ability to describe whatever you said, you know, like around, like people understood what you were talking about. You had the words to talk about it. I didn't have the words to talk about it. So for a lot of trans people, we just don't have the words to talk about how we see ourselves, or we know we see ourselves differently from everyone else.
Okay.
We know that, like, if you had asked me when I was 4 years old, are you a boy or a girl? I would say I'm not a boy or a girl.
At 4 years old?
I would say that, yeah, like I'm both. I'm both. Like, you know, like I would say I'm girly also, I'm boyish also, like I'm both. Why do I have to be You know, it was very like, I still remember, I have memories like the first day of kindergarten. I went to my friend and I said, in play school, we only had one toilet. Why do we have two now? And why is everyone wearing shorts going to that one and everyone wearing a pinafore going to this one? Like, I have like, these are like the things, you know.
Wow. It's fascinating that you have that memory that early on.
Yeah.
So when did you start to come to terms with the words and the...
In the US.
Oh, okay.
At RISD. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if it wasn't for RISD, like, I think I would have spent a lot more time figuring out, or like just not being able to be fully myself in the world, you know?
Yeah.
And RISD did that for me. It helped me see myself in a way that I'd always seen myself.
But how though? Like, how does it? I mean, it's great. It's a great story. I love it. But what's actually happening while you're there that helps shift your mindset a little bit? Is it learning the vocabulary? Is it being around other people in the same boat, as it were? Like, what is it that helped you make that shift?
I studied sculpture.
Okay.
So my degree is in sculpture. So most of my days were spent in the foundry, welding, woodworking, like doing like manual labor work. Like it's extremely heavy on your body and like, so sculpture, first of all, is seen as a very masculine profession.
Okay.
It's like in the fine art space, like usually sculptors, it's men.
Is that a thing? Okay.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay.
So it was really interesting for me to go into this really masculine profession. I have all these women around me and like assigned females at birth around me. Some of my research work in college would literally be like staring at like the crack in like the trunk of a tree for like 4 hours to see what happens to my eyes and like what my eyes do, and then how I can what are my eyes doing to like merge things or focus, not focus, and then how do I turn that into a visual? How do I then turn that into a drawing or a sculpture or like that feeling? So, you know, these kinds of things you don't get to do in like a normal college setting. Like RISD is a very special place. The kind of things sometimes they ask you to do like for class and stuff is just like one time we were asked to like make an artwork just out of food. And, you know, like, there are, like, lots of different types of these things. Then there are, like, classes and stuff on campus where, like, you can sign up. Like, there are some classes which are in collaboration with, like, NASA. There are classes in collaboration with, like, Samsung, Lego. So, you know, you get to even work with companies and have, like, a real-life effect and in the world, you know, as a designer or an artist or whatever. But the main thing for me was, like, the ability to choose your classes. And like certain things are pre-decided for you, certain things are requirements of your major, but I was taking evolutionary biology classes. I was also working in a natural history collection on campus. I was working on electron microscopes. I was taking care of like 26 like live species, like of marine species that were like localized to Rhode Island. Like as a student to have that experience, to be able to do that. Also, I was a teaching assistant. I was teaching figure drawing while I was a student. I used to give tours. I was a tour guide. So I mean, like all the things that I was afraid of, you know, like I said, I had performance anxiety. I got over it by taking up a job as a tour guide. So I was like, I'm going to give 3 tours or 4 tours a week.
Yeah.
And by the end of, you know, this job, I'm going to be a great public speaker.
Right on.
It worked. I'm here right now.
Yeah, and you know that school better than anyone now too, after giving tours, right?
Yeah.
What attracted you to sculpture? Like, was there something about the form? I don't know anything about art, but there must have been something about sculpture that drew you to it, as opposed to drawing or painting or something. What was that?
I've always been a very physical person. Like I've been a very like. I exist in this world, you know, like I was an athlete when I was younger and I wanted to do something that like needed me to like be on my feet. I wanted to study that. Actually, I got into RISD for photography. While I was applying, I applied as to transfer into the photography field because I had more pictures in my portfolio, to be honest. And I figured, I was like, once I go there, I can then figure it out. Then I got to school and I did the summer school to like make up for some credits and requirements. And then I realized very quickly in the summertime that I loved like, spending time on the bandsaw, cutting up wood. Like I loved doing that stuff versus like sitting in one place and just like, focusing and drawing. But that was me at that time. I paint and I draw now. I haven't made sculptures in a really long time.
Okay.
So it's really like, it wasn't about like learning, like going there to pick a profession or choose a profession.
Okay.
I went there to just learn.
Yeah.
And so I learned everything. Like I was a sculpture major, but every time I had free time, I would go to the technicians in different labs. Like I'd go to the textile technician and ask like so many questions. I think for at least an hour a week, I spent time with certain looms, so I would understand those looms, how they function, how they
Like
work.
weaving. Oh.
Yeah, weaving. I mean, I didn't need to learn any of it, but like I wanted to. So I did that. Then I would like go to the glass department and check out what they're doing there. I would constantly make sure that like I'm making the most of that time, because like I said, like I don't come from any other privileges except for the privilege of education. So I knew the value of that education.
I got here, I got to take advantage of this.
Yeah.
Okay. So earlier you mentioned that when you're 8, 9 years old, you saw people sort of having this huge amount of respect for someone who had been a RISD graduate. Now you graduate from RISD. Did that give you some, beyond whatever you learned education-wise, did that degree give you some confidence now? Does it give you confidence to this day?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because I went through to, okay, it's a very difficult school, like in your first year, your studio classes are 7.5 hours long. It's not a joke. Like you cannot mess around in that school.
What are you doing for 7 hours?
Drawing.
Jeez. Okay.
Consistently. Like sometimes I've like been in studio and like by the end of that day, you've done like 300 drawings.
Okay.
So by the end of that day, like, and it was really inspiring to be in that space. But I just, on the first day, sometimes people quit. They get in.
Yeah.
Sometimes on the first day, they quit. By the end of the first semester, there's already like 40, 50 people who have left. So that's where the transfer students come in the second year. And
well, you know what I think happens at a school of that kind of caliber is everyone there was the best at whatever they did wherever they came from, right? And they've always been the best at whatever they did wherever they came from. And then all of a sudden, you see this in athletics too, all of a sudden, everyone around you was the best at what they did, and you may have been a kick-ass sculptor back in Toledo, Ohio, or Pune. Everyone here is as good as you, if not better. Like that's hard on the ego, right? Like, I mean, was that hard for you to see like, holy cow, these people are amazing?
The thing is that before I went to RISD, I didn't really have that much self-confidence or any sense of like self-worth or self-esteem. Like all of that built for me there.
Really?
Yeah, like I was a very depressed young child. Like I was. Now I've been diagnosed with clinical depression, but I think it had started when I was 11 years old, 10, 11 years old. So when I went there, I went with a lot of pain, actually. Like I went with a lot of like baggage. It was a very heavy feeling to be there as a student in the beginning. And then so I was just like surprised. I was just like, wow, I get to be here. Like what? Like how? And I was just like, I'm just grateful. I'm just really grateful to be here, and I will not complain. I will, that was my rule. I was like, you will not complain. No matter what happens, you will not complain. You're here and I'm going to make it work, So I got there. I was pretty poor. Like I didn't have any money. Like I was like working 3 jobs as a student. I was like collecting things every day. And like I had one specific day in the week to go around the campus, check out everything people threw away, and then collect things that people threw away so I can make art from it. Like I did all of these different things to like keep going and constantly like push myself. And that drive, like that drive of I will not let anyone or anything take this away from me, no matter what happens, because I worked really hard to get here.
Yeah.
Like that sense of pride in myself also was there. So I didn't care. Like I didn't care what people really thought of me in the beginning. I think in the first month or two, I was a little like, I want people to like me.
Right.
Like, I wanted people to like me.
Of course, you're a young
Yeah.
18-year-old or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's yes.
But very quickly, I realized that whether people like me or not is like none of my business or my concern. Like, it has nothing to do with me. It has like, I'm here to do my work, and I'm only going to do my work because I'm not here to be liked, you know.
Boy, yeah, but letting go of ego, man. Yeah, that's it. I'm still working on that.
Yeah, we all are. Me too.
Okay, so we started off today talking about, I'm kind of going to get it wrong again, trans, non-binary, gender fluid.
Correct.
I'd like to, talk to me about, okay, gender fluid, I think I sort of get, I think I get all three of them, but like, what was the progression for you for using those three words to identify by?
So first it was gender fluid, because, and these words are found when I was a student at RISD, because like there were a lot, like I went to school with trans people, you know, I had, there were lots of queer people who were open and honest about their lives and everything, and you weren't judged on the basis of your gender there. So like when I was in the foundry, in the shop, there'd be like this 6-foot-tall white guy with big muscles who'd come up to me like, hey D, can you help me lift this like sheet of metal, please? You know, like that's, and I loved that, because they were just like, Durga is strong, Durga, I'll do this. It wasn't like Durga is a girl, you know, so I shouldn't ask her about this, like, or I shouldn't ask for help. Like, there was none of that. Like, we just have a great time.
Yeah. You're there and the metal needs picking up, so let's go.
That's it. That was all it is. Yeah. So, so the progression for me essentially was that when I was a very young kid, I used to always say I'm a girl, boy, both. Like, it was something that was in my head for a long time. And then slowly, like I started, after I hit puberty, I was expected to like grow my hair out, start dressing differently.
You talk about this. I can't remember where I read this. It might have been in an article about you where you lose agency over yourself when you hit puberty as a girl, but as a boy you don't. I thought that was an interesting. That's something that hadn't occurred to me.
Yeah, you don't. Like, you completely lose it, because suddenly now, because you've started bleeding, everyone in your life wants to protect that one organ in your body, and then the rest of your body on the basis of that one organ in your body. And in India, it is really like extreme in the sense, like, because this is a very difficult country. There's lots of problems here, and people don't want to raise girls. They don't want girls. They don't want to deal with dowry. They don't want to deal with, like, there are all these social, economical, you know, cultural issues in this country that affect the way that each and every single person with a womb is treated in this country. And not just a woman, vulvas also, like the trans women too, like they are affected. The minute you embrace and celebrate femininity, it's attacked in this country. And that to me is really sad. It's really sad. It's not just in the country, it's everywhere in the world. Like, the expression of femininity is either sexualized, objectified, or put down, or disregarded, dismissed, you know, and just, so I had internalized this like almost hatred towards my own femininity.
Oh, interesting.
Because it made me uncomfortable, like to be expected to only exist in my feminine self, present in a way that makes everyone else comfortable and me extremely uncomfortable. That was the expectation that was put on me.
At the same time, the 4-year-old you was already, both.
The 4-year-old me was chill, like they were just, they didn't care.
Yeah.
You know, they loved, like, by the way, 4-year-old me dressed exactly like this. Crop top, shorts, like colorful, hair was like this. Like, it's really, you know, when you see pictures also, it's very, till 10, you can see that this is the same person that you see now. The minute you see pictures of me from 11 years old onwards till 21, you're going to just be like, who is this? I can't recognize this person. It's really like that. And I was just like, that's exactly what it was like for me, but for myself, every day in the mirror. And that, so for 10 years, I just couldn't recognize myself. And I tried to like figure out, how do I deal with this? What do I do? I couldn't understand. There was no way to figure it out. And then I went to the US, and then I saw people expressing the way that they see themselves in their presentation of themselves. So like there was this one kid in school who liked to just shave his head only here because he liked it.
And that was okay.
That was okay. And I was like, wow, like that's okay. There was one kid who was doing like a stop motion animation project. And he divided his head into 30 parts and shaved one part every day.
Oh, interesting.
So over the span of a month, it like he had like the spiral thingy going on his head, and then he made like a stop motion video of like his hair doing like these waves.
Oh.
So I'm just saying like, wow, like that's awesome. Like, you get to do that, you get to experience that, you get to live that, and no one is judging you. It's a safe space to be able to, you know, explore and learn and stuff like that. So so when I went there, like I saw all these different types of people, and I was just like, wow, like it's okay to exist as however you want to exist. We can all coexist also. Like there were people from all over the world. There were people from Korea, in the Middle East, India, Pakistan, you know, like so many people from everywhere, Africa. And I remember when I first went there, I decided I'm not going to use cutlery, even though I know how to use it. I was just like, I'm Indian, you know, I'm going to eat with my hands.
Yeah.
And after I think about the first 5-6 days, people were like, yo, what are you doing? You know? After 2 weeks, there were all these Americans sitting with me. They're like, can you please teach me how to do this? Because when you do it so gracefully. Nothing falls, nothing trickles down your fingers. It's like your fingers are anti-gravity or what? Like, how do you eat with your hand?
Dude, true story. I've been in India for almost 4 years now, and my favorite thing is chapati.
Yeah.
Because you can just scoop everything up with it. It's so tactile. Like making tactility, I don't even know if that's a word, but just having that as part of your food experience is fabulous. But, okay, so we're working our way towards non-binary, trans, non-binary, gender fluid.
So yeah, I found these 3 words while I was at RISD.
Okay.
Because one of my friends showed me a picture of Ruby Rose. Because one of my friends actually came out to me as trans.
I don't know who that is. Ruby Rose?
Ruby Rose?
Yes.
Ruby Rose is a gender fluid person.
Okay.
It was Catwoman in one of the movies.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but basically, like, one of my friends came out to me as trans. And I'd already known him, like, we'd hang out every day for 6 months. Then he came out to me as trans. I had no idea.
Oh.
Absolutely. Like, there was no clue. But I think, like, I gravitated towards him because of that. Like, I clearly gravitated towards, you know, this friend of mine. And we spent a lot of time together. And he helped me understand a lot about his journey. But I related, but I couldn't relate fully. You know, like, there was just, like, certain things that seemed very solid about his experience that didn't seem.
So there's a piece of it, but it's not.
Yeah.
All the okay.
And then he showed me Ruby Rose, and then I started learning about Ruby Rose, who's gender fluid, and I realized like I actually do identify like that, but I was afraid to say that word out. So then once I found that word, I was around 20 years old. Then I waited 4 years. Like I graduated, I finished my education, and then like one thing I do have to mention is that like people think that there's this pressure to come out young and stuff now because people are talking about these things, but sometimes coming out can put your life in danger. It can put your reality in danger. It can, especially in a country like India, it can be life-threatening. So I didn't know how my reality would change after I came out or whatever. And I wasn't ready. So I was like, okay, you figure out how to finish your education first. Do all the things that are important so that you can become independent. In case something happens, then you can at least take care of yourself. You're not dependent on someone.
Wow, yeah, but having to, like, geez, man, having to think through I've got to make myself bulletproof because I'm about to take this leap, and I don't know if anyone's going to be there. I can only rely on me catching me. That's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, and the thing is, I was always in that spot since I was a kid because I couldn't identify with anyone else. Like, there was no one to talk to. In fact, I used to write love letters to myself in third person. I have about 40 or 50 diaries full of these since I was a young kid. Like, just being like, hey, dear Durga, I want you to know that I'm there for you.
That's
You
like,
know, like
the sweetest and like heartbreakingest thing at the same time. Wow. Okay.
I still do it. Like,
Do you?
I still do
That's
it.
probably a good practice, right?
It
It's
is.
like a self-affirmation type of thing.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I still do it. Like especially when I'm low, the only person I need to listen to is myself, actually. Like, there's no one in the world who can say what I need to hear except for myself, you know. So, while I was there, so yeah, basically then I came back to India after graduating. So, because I wanted to come back to India and work here, and I just really wanted to be with my grandfather. I was really close to him. He was sick. So I wanted to be here while he was sick in his last days and stuff. So I came back, and I didn't want to come out while he was still alive because the way the world would treat me after I came out is not something he would be able to see.
Okay.
It would bother him because he was sick. He couldn't do anything about it, you know.
Wow.
Couldn't. So I waited till he passed, and then 6 months after he passed, I came out. And I came out first as gender fluid. And I came out to be an activist. I came out to talk about the things that would happen and to represent myself and like not live a life of shame and like not hide. Because I was just like, whether I hide or not, like, things are difficult. So why should I hide? You know,
I guess so, but no one's telling, no one can tell you anything, but no one's advising you that, you know, you just make it. We've talked to a couple of people, we're not in the exact same situation, but the same sort of thing, talking about coming out and family and friends telling them, why do you want to make life even more difficult for yourself, right? That this is...
Of course, I went through that.
Yeah, but so... Yeah, I mean, okay, you don't, it can't be more difficult, but it can be more difficult, right? Like, I mean...
It is. Like, in certain sense, like, so when I first came out, there were like some articles that were released about me, some videos that I did. The first video that went viral of me, it got like more than 700,000 views in like 2 days or 3 days or something.
Oh.
And it was like 10 questions you always wanted to ask a gender fluid person.
I like it.
Video.
Yeah.
It was with Vice.
Okay.
So that video went viral, and I think I received about 200 to 300 death threats, rape threats every day for about 3 or 4 months. And I couldn't get out of the house. I didn't know how to deal with it. My mental health was completely, I was scared. I was like, I don't know who's seeing my content. I don't know if I step out, someone who's seen it gets pissed off and like does something, throws acid on my face or something. Like, it was really scary. And so those things were scary. But do I feel uncomfortable in my skin? No. Do I allow anything or anyone to make me feel uncomfortable in my skin? No. You know, like,
yeah,
that is getting easier as I get older.
Okay.
But the other side of things, like, now the threats have reduced quite a bit. But I'm still threatened a lot. It's constant. It's constant, like, people letting you know you're taking up too much space. People letting you know that you shouldn't behave this way or behave that way because you are an Indian woman. You know, like...
Yeah, I gotta think there are people in your same position who, you know, understandably would choose the latter. Would say, you know what, the heck with it. I'm just gonna. I don't want to. Anyways, it's a terrible position to be in.
Yeah. But after that interview, I think a few months later, I found the word non-binary, like, to feel. I started using it more. Like, I already had found it, but I started using it more, and then I think about 4 or 5 months after that, like, I started identifying even with the word trans. See, they're all related.
Sure.
They all, like, are interconnected. Their definitions are, like, their particular definitions are a little bit slightly different from each other. But essentially, like I said, they're just words that I use to describe my human experience in my body. So they're not like, people think that these are labels. They're not labels, they're words that help us identify ourselves. So when people talk about coming out and stuff like that, it's like cishet people don't have to come out, you know, and they just go on living their lives and existing in the world and like never even have to think about these things. But why do we have to think about these things? Because we are subverting like the expectations of society, right? Like we're literally just by existing. Our existence is only political. We can't do anything about it. So you can either like live a life where you're hiding, or you can live a life which is like you're hiding in certain parts of your life and then not hiding in certain parts of your life. And then you can live a life that is completely honest. And for me, like I'm a spiritual person. I won't say I'm religious, but I was raised in a very Hindu religious family. And karma is a very big thing for me. So for me, it's like I want to live a completely honest life. Like I don't want to lie about anything to anyone, not even like white lies, you know, not even small things. I don't want that on my karma. I just want to live a clean, honest life and keep myself happy. Like that's, you know.
I think that's a good message to end on. Actually, that's a lovely way to end things. Durga, appreciate you coming by. Thanks for being here. Really interesting talk. If people want to find out more about your work, where should they check you out? Instagram or what?
They can check out my Instagram. My Instagram handle is Durga Gawde Studio. So that is DurgaGawdeStudio.
Cool. All right. We'll see you on the gram. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.